Good morning, student. Myself, Professor Dhaval Chandarana, and we are discuss a cyber law and ethics subject. Guys, on a previous lecture, we are completed our unit number 1, which is represent some basic terminology regarding a cyber law and ethics. Now, guys, please be focused on all the video which we are discussing through at unit number 2, known as Information Technology Act. On our previous unit number 1, we will discuss some generalized concept, but now onwards we will discuss some specific and a depth concept regarding a cyber law and ethics. So guys, if you focus on all the video, then it is easy to understand what we are discussing regarding a Information Technology Act. But if you take it lightly, then it is very difficult to understand because it is a very depth and it is a purely technical concept which we are discussing throughout this video lecture in unit number 2. So in unit number 2, we will focus a specifically concept of I.T Act which is governed with a Indian government 2000, which is specifically represent a cyberspace as well as cyber law, as well as we will say that it is a built for only cyber crime. So it is really important to understand what are the different acts which is available according to a cyber crime which we are discussing in unit number 2. So guys, first we will discuss what we are discussing or outline of unit number 2 which is provided by the GTU syllabus. So guys, we will discuss overview of I.T Act 2000 which is provided by the Indian government, amendment and limitations of I.T Act, importance and limitations of I.T Act, digital signature, it is the most important concept in unit number 2, as well as what is a digital signature and how it's become a trending in nowadays, copyright or cryptographic algorithm, public cryptography and private cryptography, electronic governance where our data should be stored on a soft copy or in soft manner, legal recognitions of electronic records, legal recognitions of digital signatures, certifying authorities a cybercrime and offenses, network service provider or NSP liability, cyber regulations, appellants and tribunals, and the last thing, penalties and adjudications. So guys, all the point which we are discussing in unit number 2 through the video lectures. And for the today's video lecture, we will discuss only 2 points. It is the concept of overview of I.T Act as well as amendment and the limitations of I.T Act. Because I.T Act is developed on 2000 and now we are on a 2020. Or it is the completions of 2020. So guys, there are the lots of changes available on the IT industry. So some of the limitation is faced nowadays which is developed on a IT Act 2000 because lots of technology, lots of theft, lots of IT technical people will be found, so many disadvantage in concept of IT Act. So we will discuss some of the limitation on the later on this particular lecture. So we will start our today's video lecture or unit number 2 Information IT Act with help of overview of IT Act. The Information Technology Act 2000 provides a legal recognitions for the transactions carried out by the means of electronic data interchanges and other means of electronic communications commonly referred to as electronic commerce like e-commerce, which involve the use of alternatives to paper-based methods of communications and storage of informations to facilitate electronic fillings of documents with the government agency and further to embed the Indian Penal Code, the Indian Evidence Act 1872, the Bankers Book Evidence Act 1891 and the Reserve Bank of Indian Act 1934 and for the matters connected therewith or incidents thereto. Guys, there are the lots of figures which is mentioned since 1872, 1891 and 1934 which is provided some basic fundamentals thing on concept of IT Act with the combinations of all the information which is available with the different country. We will select some specific and a required rules adapt with this technology which is provided by the IT Act. But the generalized concept, or we can say in a basic short, whatever data should be transmitted in concept of electronic data interchange, with help of electronic data interchange, if some of the difficulty should be found and some crime should be happened, its concept should be defined by the IT Act. What are the different penalties? What are the different rules? What are the different crime is happened? And for this, what are the different rules should be defined? It mentioned in IT Act 2000 by a Indian government, and they can take all the help regarding Indian Evidence Act 1872, Bankers Book Evidence 1891, and the Reserve Bank of India, because RBI is the most powerful bank in our India. So they can define some of the act which will be adopt in Indian Act 2000. We can mention by the 1934. The Information Technology Act 2000 extend to the whole of Indian, and it applies also to any offence or controversies under the committees outside Indian by any person. Like where this IT Act it should be follow. If your business is a Indian market or in outside of market, if your organization are in India, then they can follow IT Act 2000. And IT Act 2000 is for all the Indians public which is available in India or maybe in outside of India. What was the silent future of IT Act 2000? We will discuss one by one. Digital signature has been replaced with the electronic signature to make it a more technological, natural act. Like whenever we purchase some product, they provide some digital signature and they mention one note, it is a electronic generated bill. There is no requirement for any authorized signature. So it's nothing but a digital signature. It should be converted in an electronic signature like a QR code or barcode code. It is one of the best facility provided for the organization side as well as for some authentications product from the client side. It elaborated on offenses, penalties and the breaches against all the crimes which is happened with help of a computer system or any of the electronic gadgets. It outlines the justice dispenses system for the cyber crimes because it is a mentions due to some cyber crimes or it is developed due to some cyber crimes. The Information Technology Act defined in a new sections that a cyber cafe is any facility from the where the access to the internet is offered by any person in the ordinary courses of the businesses to the members of a public. Means if you want to connect your any of the device to a internet and if you perform any kind of transactions in form of information transaction, in form of money transaction or in form of any legal business, you must be follow this IT Act features. It provides for the constitutions of a cyber regulations advisory committees because it is developed by the IT Act. The IT Act is based on the Indian Penal Code 1860, the Indian Evidence Act 1872 and the Bankers Book Evidence 1891 and the RBI Act 1934 which we are discussing our previous slide. It add a provision to sections 81 which is state that the provision of the act shall have to overtime effect. The provision state that nothing contained in the act shall restrict any person from exercising any rights confirmed under the Copyright Act 1957. And what was the copyright? We will discuss on a later unit. So guys, it is the different features provided by the IT Act which is really matter whenever our business or our transaction should be happen with the electronic gadgets. Now, what was the applicability and non-applicability of a IT Act, means where the IT Act should be applicable and where a IT Act is not be acceptable or applicable. First we see applicability. According to the section 1.2, one of two's notations, the Act extends to the entire country, which also include a Jammu and Kashmir. In order to include a Jammu and Kashmir, the Act used the Article 253 of the Constitution, because now they are just acceptable with the Jammu and Kashmir also. Further, it does not take a citizenship into the account and provide extraterritorial jurisdictions. Section 1.2 along with the section 75 specify that an act is applicable to any offence or the contraventions committee outside the India as well as, which we discuss the same thing when we are discuss overview of IT Act. If the conduct of person constitutes the offence involves a computer or the computerized system or the network located in India, then irrespective his or her nationality, the person is punishable under the IT Act. Like if some of the NRI person who can gain informations of the Indian, any kind of transaction should be happen within the India, they want to follow a IT Act, and if they are not following the IT Act, it should be gaining some crime regarding a cyber crime. Like any of the outside of Indian public who want to come into the India, they must be follow IT Act, and they just follow all the rules which is mentioned by the IT Act 2000. It is a mandatory if they are going to use any of the electronic gadgets within the India. Lack of the international corporations is the only limitation of this provision if it is going with the outside of country. What was the non-applicability? According to the section 1.4 of the Information Technology Act 2000, the Act is not applicable to the following documents. Which was the document is not applicable IT Act? We will discuss one by one. First, executions of negotiable instrument under the Negotiable Instrument Act 1880 except the check. Negotiation means if some of the organization or the client they want to negotiate some of the product, documents and the property which should be not applicable on the non-IT Act. Second, executions of a power of autonomy under the Power of Autonomy Act 1882. Power of autonomy means if we want to nominee some of our properties, some of our document, it is not take part in IT Act. Creation of trust under the Indian Trust 1882 means if you want to generate some new trust, it is not take any kind of endorsement in IT Act, so it is not acceptable by the IT Act 2000. Fourth one, executions of a will under the Indian Substitution Act 1925, including any another testamentary dispositions by whatever name called. Means if you want to will under the any of the Indian sections 1925, it should be not acceptable IT Act because it is not mentioned any kind of rules, regulations against those kind of Indian Substitutions Act 1925. Fifth one, entering into the contract for the sale of conveyances of immovable property or any interact in such a property. Means your property is not sell on the online or kind of property which should be not acceptable on the online market, it is not accept a IT Act, or your property known as conveyancing of innovable properties. And the last one, any such class of a documents or the translation as many be noticed by the central government in a gazetted. Means I will just give you the example. Your document want to be authorized or authentic document if the document have the gazetted signs, but those kind of document is not be acceptable on I.T Act rules, because it is the authorized person can only authenticate sign. It is known as a gazetted sign. So whenever you want to submit any authenticate document with help of gazetted sign, it should be not dealing with a I.T Act 2000. So guys, this is the 6 things which is not applicability in I.T Act 2000. Now, what was the amendment brought in the I.T Act, or we can say amendment acceptability in the I.T Act? The I.T Act has brought the amendment in 4 status wide a section 91 to 94. This change have been provided in schedule 1 to 4. The first schedule contains the amendment in the Penal Code. It has widened the scope of the term documents to bring with this ambit electronics document like a digital log. Whatever document it is provided by the government, we will easily get this digital document applications, and it should be acceptable by anywhere in India. The second schedule deals with the amendment to the Indian Evidence Act. It pertains to the inclusions of electronic document in the defining in evidences. Like if we have not a physical license when a police should be claimed or accident should be claimed, if you have a digital log or application and in this particular application you are link your license, then it should be always be acceptable throughout this India. The third schedules amended the Banker's Book Evidence Act. This amendment brings about a change in the definitions of Banker's Book. It includes a printouts of the data stored in the floppy, disk, tape or any another form of electronic data storage device. Similar change has been brought about the expressions certified copy to include such printout within the previews. Like currently we will store our document in a Google Drive or any secondary storage with help of scanning. So it should be always be acceptable that your document should be scanned. It should be acceptable by any of the government authority, but you must be mention your signature, or we can say self-attested copy with this particular document. Then and then this particular document is acceptable by any of the government agencies. And the fourth thing, the fourth schedule amendment, the Reserve Bank of India Act (RBI), it pertains to the regulations of fund transfer through the electronic means between the banks or between the banks and another financial institute. Like if you recharge your mobile, pay some electronic bills, pay some D2H recharge and so many things, it is the one of the transaction through which third party will be take a place. Like our bank account should be linked with specific application and they can perform some of the transaction with our bank account to a specific organization's account. So it also be amended in I.T Act 2000. Now what was the highlights of the amended act? The newly amended act came with the following highlights which we are discussing below. It stresses on a privacy issue and highlights information security. What is a privacy? Without any kind of permission, we are not accepting any data, any media, any photograph, or as well as a look and feel which is available on internet. It is nothing but a privacy, as well as a information security. It elaborates a digital signature. What is a digital signature? What is the importance of digital signature in nowadays? We will discuss later on this in unit number 2. It clarifies a rational security practices for the corporates, because nowadays lots of fraud should be happen on the online. For this we will build a lots of security. I will just give you example. OTP message. If you have a authorized username and password, then also a secondary level security will be implemented on any of the banking system. Without OTP, you are not authorized person. An OTP is always sent on a registered mobile number which is happening on the banking data. So it is a rational security practices for the corporates. It focuses on the role of intermediaries. Like nowadays third party application is more boosted up and more in demand, so that's why they are focusing on the third party procedure also. New phase of cybercrime were added because the I.T Act it should be introduced and market in 2000 and now we are on 2020. Lots of things should be added on this current era and current internet marking so they can ace with a new functionality and new features into the I.T Act 2000. So guys, it is the thing which we are discussing on the concept of Embedded Act IT 2000, and there are the lots of points which we are discussing a current highlighted concept in the Embedded IT Act. I wish you are clear all the things which we are discussing throughout this video lecture, and whatever we are discussing in this video lecture, I will give you a most relevant example. If you are gone through this video, then it must be clear by your side, and it is my best way to represent each and every term which is mentioned by the GTU. So guys, I hope you are enjoying this video lecture and learn everything which we are discussing in this video lecture. Thank you so much.